listening to Keeping an Eye on It, a podcast from Ion Education. Here is your host, Kyle Holder, founder of Ion.
Well, I'm here today with Dameon. We're going to start our podcast here. I'm here with Dameon. He's our customer success advocate. And if you haven't met Dameon, you're in for a treat. He is absolutely fantastic. We're just really thrilled to have him as part of the team. And so, I wanted to sit down with Dameon and talk a little bit today about, things like drive and things like adversity and things like coaching, because that's really what we're trying to do here with our customers, right? We're trying to coach them and get them to a point where they're using data better, but not just because we want them to use data better, but because it's going to have these positive outcomes for kids. And Dameon, walk me through your history a little bit, your path to how you got here, and ultimately why you pressed submit on that application button. Send your resume, submit.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for that nice introduction. My path, I've been in sports my whole life. Basketball, it's been my passion. So, I was fortunate enough to, be able to go to college. I'm from, Missouri, moved to Illinois. Short story. From Missouri, moved to Illinois when I was 16. Ended up getting a scholarship to go to Marquette to play basketball. Played at Marquette, then played at LSU because I transferred. Because I started the whole generation of people transferring, and then everybody started transferring.
So it's your fault.
Yes.
NIL, baby. It's your fault. He's sitting right here.
Yeah, and then got a chance to go, play overseas and travel and see a lot of different places professionally, which was great. And when I got back home, my lower back, I kind of messed that up. So when I got back home, I started doing basketball training and player development and working with teams and coaches and developing players. And so that and I kind of just easily transitioned into it, just from playing, just to transition right into developing players, coaching, working with coaching staffs, helping them put together plans for development for their talent, especially for higher level players who were talented enough to go play at the next level. I would kind of hyper focus on players like that and kind of work with them behind the scenes and then on the court to putting together processes for them to the things that they need, the necessary resources and things that they need to develop and move forward and to go achieve their dream that that we thought that each player needed. Did that for a while. Coaching, training, recruiting, the whole, just a mixed bag of multiple different, responsibilities and just different things that I was, doing and being contracted to do, hired to do, all across the place, man. Traveling, going to camps here, camps there, training here, driving all over the place, training multiple different players, teams, which was exciting. But I think the good part about it was like the human behavior aspect of it, like learning how to really deal with players, how to work with them, how to build with them, how to communicate to them, how to respond to them, how to respond in situations, like just focused on the success of the athlete and kind of taking yourself out of it and then focusing on like what makes them tick, what makes them drive, what makes them successful.
Yeah, and I think that's really one of the key questions that I had for you is, you went from the first part of your life was internal, right? I am 100% devoted to me, to my career, to my development as a player. I know you said you had a back injury, but so that was kind of the internal. Right? You were forced to quit playing.
Yeah.
But what was the process like where you went from it's all about me to it's all about them? Right?
Definitely.
How did you transition from I'm a player to I'm developing players? And then, excuse me, when did the passion for developing players kind of kick in? Because we talked about this yesterday with Larry. You can kind of do something and love it, but it becoming a passion is something completely different.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. So then great question. So that actually before I stopped playing, I got this bug in me for player development. as I was a player, even when I was playing overseas, I would, go to schools when I was over there training players. When I was here in the summers, when I would come home, I would work with a lot of players and train players and work with coaches who I knew who had teams and younger players. And like they're like, hey, Dameon's going to come in and work out with you guys. And I just instantaneously enjoyed it. It was something I just easily took to. I liked developing the players. It's like I saw things and it's like my mind was just kind of built for it, essentially, to be honest. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked the process of working with players and going through their journey with them. And so I kind of had it in my mind, like when I finish playing, this is what I'll do. Because as doing it and enjoying it, even, as a high school kid going to work at the elementary school and the junior high school working with younger kids. And then as a college player, you have responsibilities to go out in the community and do things. And I've always just enjoyed them. I enjoyed just the aspect of developing, not so much coaching, from a coaching player standpoint, but like the development side, the development coach side, as opposed to like the, coaching a team side. Like I just like the process of analyzing, a player, visualizing what they need, what it's going to take for them to develop and get better. And so I just kind of had that in me. It was kind of just built in me. First, and it really just when I got done playing, I really wasn't even that upset, even in the fact that my career just kind of ended. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty simple transition. I got back home. I was like, I'm fine. I'm ready to go do this. I thought I was going to have this big fall off. Like, oh my goodness, I'm done playing. My career's over. I had this dream of playing until I was 35, and it didn't bother me at all. I got once I was finished, and I easily transitioned into this training. And I mean, it was seamless because I had that experience beforehand and kind of looked back at that time and said, yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's something I could do. And I have a lot of experience as well, and which is very, very good. The fact that you have personal experience dealing with a lot of the, situations, circumstances that these players are going to be dealing with moving forward. So if you can go give that back to them earlier and get them more used to it, get them more comfortable with, get them to understand what's expected of them, that was going to be great. I thought I could be a big asset for a lot of people in that way. Yeah.
What was it like walking off the court for the last time as a player, with that jersey on? And I mean, I know you said it wasn't a big deal long run, but in the short run, what was that like?
Well, I mean, that's a funny story because my last game was played, and the last game I played, I didn't think that was going to be my last game.
Okay.
I didn't think so. My back injuries kind of proceeded into the summer. It just wasn't getting better, and when you're playing overseas, it's a little more difficult. Like if you're not like ready to go back and go, they'll just go find someone else. So it's a dog eat dog world in that way, and really I wouldn't even say dog eat dog world. It's like that's, they're looking for players and they're looking to be better year by year by year. So if you're going to be injured, they're not going to waste their resources on you.
So is the competition tougher over there? I mean, from that perspective, yes. But the NBA doesn't play defense. Do they play defense in Europe? Okay. There's a little bit of my bias.
No, that's funny. So yeah, absolutely. I mean,
for 300 points to be scored in a game, there ain't a lot of defense going on.
Yeah, but the game has become so much more global. Yeah. It's incredible. How it's spread out, and you've seen just countries get better and better and better. So yeah, the competition over there is steep, and then at that time, there were still rules like you can only have 2 Americans per team in certain countries and things of that nature. So it was still you still had minimal amount of spots that you can get to, even though there were a lot of American players who were good enough to go play. They had just rules and regulations that you just there was still only a few spots. So, but the competition for those spots and the competition over there was really, really good. And you just saw it getting better and better. And now you see now at 2024 how, the world has caught up, and there's just so much, just a spread of talent throughout. Like you could see it like 10, 15 years ago, like, wow, like these guys, the kids are getting better, the players are getting better. And here we are today with, our professional league having, I think close to 200 international players in it.
Sure.
Out of around 500. It has has a lot of players in it from overseas. So it's that the game has definitely grown, and it's definitely competitive.
Yeah. Who was the toughest person you played against, and how did you prepare for that?
My goodness.
Because you don't just walk into a game saying, I'm going to go up against Shaq.
Well,
right?
Yeah, so I'll give you a broad answer. When you're going to play against like the best players, or if you're the best, rather still a team, or just the best players in general, and if you're in a situation where you're about to go compete against them, I've always took a realistic approach to everything. Me personally, it's like, man, them being better or me playing against a better player or high level players does not mean that I'm not going to perform well.
Right.
I never worried about that.
Yep.
It was more about like, all right, like, play the best that you can play. Do what you're responsible for, and be responsible what you're responsible for. When you go, when you're going to play against these teams, and you're going through scouting reports and you're watching film and you're getting ready to go play, you have responsibilities, things that you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be on the floor, what we're looking to accomplish. So my focus was focus on those, and then, and then do it from what my individual abilities were. Like, just try to max that out, try to play it the best as you could possibly play, and don't get too caught up in the whole, you versus another really good player thing. Like, 'cause that really can throw a lot of guys off, and they can kind of put them off their game.
Well, and it's kind of funny too, because even here, people ask us about our competitors a lot, and we just say,
Yeah.
I mean, we know in general, but we're going to play our game. And Larry and I have always said that as we've been kind of building this out, is we're going to play our game. There's competitors out there. We're going to do some research. We're going to find out about them so we can be prepared. But if they come out with a new feature, I'm not going to lose sleep and say, we need to come out with that too, right?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, we are not our competitors, and we want to be set apart. And just because they come out with a new feature doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a great feature or good or anything like that. So
and your strengths are your strengths, which is most important. And then you have to focus on, what makes you good and what makes those around you good. And I think that's what's important. And hyper focus on, like in our situation, like what makes us as Ion good and appealing to, our partners. Like, we have to hyper focus on that. I think when you get too caught up in competition, like I said, like you said, it's good to know the competition's there. Research them, know what competition is there and what they're doing, what they're capable of. But at the same time, to go try to match it all the time or copy it or hyper focus on them, I think it takes a little bit of what you are out of you, because you're so focused on competition. And I've never looked at it that way either.
Yeah. So at one point, about 6 months ago, you're still doing basketball stuff. You still have your camps. You have your 3-on-3. You're building your 3-on-3 program, which is fantastic, and we're excited for you, and we're excited to be a part of that, and however we can, because we're excited about you. But what made you click? Whatever your reasons for branching out beyond the basketball, we're not going to go there. But what made you decide to click submit your resume to us when you saw that CSA position?
So the customer success aspect of it, reading that and looking through what you guys were looking for, like not even just, it wasn't so built into qualifications. It was more experience based.
Yeah.
And reading that and looking at that application, I was just like, man, like, I kind of looked at what I was currently doing and what I've been doing, and I never even thought about that. Put those two words, like customer success. It's not even something I thought about. You always think about customer service, customer support. I never even thought about customer success in that way, and looking at it and saying, hey, like, a lot of things that you guys were looking for in this position, I do have experience in. It's not in education so
sure.
For that matter, but at the same time, the parallels were there, and I was like, man, this is something I feel like I could, I feel like I could see myself in a role like this, because I wanted to have both. I did want to, be able to work in, I would say in the corporate space, but in the private entities like you guys have, and I want to still have that, that opportunity as well, and then do what I'm doing afterwards, in the evenings, on the weekends, things of that nature. So this, like, it was like almost kind of seamless, because it was like I do this on a day-to-day as anyway, from a standpoint of working with athletes and their families and teams and coaches, like customer success. This is kind of what I do in general.
Yep.
And so it just transitioned and translated well. So I thought, I looked at it, I was like, wow, that would be neat. It would be something I have to really, really, sit down and take time to learn and adjust to and adapt to. But I was like, I might as well why not? I mean, they can just say no, and it's simple. So once you guys called me for the interview, I was kind of shocked. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's kind of neat. It was like, and then I was looking at it, I was like, wow, it's like right around the corner from the house, which is neat too. And I was like, man, that's neat. So when I came in and I spoke to you and Larry, it was like, and here we are. But it looked at that time, I just looked at it and said, man, that looks like a nice transition for me back into the corporate workspace.
Sure. Yeah. And it's funny, we didn't see it at first. Mm-hmm. We had about 100 different resumes for that position, and there were 2, and yours wasn't one of them immediately that stuck out to us. Yeah. But after we went through a couple interviews and we realized, those people are great on paper, but when it came down to it, they just weren't a great fit. And so what do we do, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but this Dameon Mason resume kept hitting me in the forehead. And so I'm driving to a gymnastics competition with my daughter in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Yeah. And I'm about 3 miles north of Mount Vernon, Iowa, which is where I spent my freshman year of college. And I call Larry and I said, dude, I think we need to take another look at this. Do you remember that college basketball player guy, Dameon, that just didn't seem to make sense? I think we need to take another look at that. And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. And so we pulled it up and we're just like, it's interesting because we're looking for somebody who can coach teachers. And here's a coach. It's basketball. Yeah. But we're looking, and so we're like, yeah. What do we got to lose? No, it wasn't like that, but it was. Yeah, but we just all of a sudden there became this kind of momentum, and there's kind of energy of this could be really, really good, right? And so, long story short, it was really, really good, and you're here. So, how do you take? My guess is. Coaching basketball isn't a lot different than coaching football, which isn't a lot different than coaching hockey, which isn't a lot different than coaching professional chefs, because it's all about people. It's all about psychology, and the skills come in later, right? The skills are something else.
Absolutely.
But how do you transition or not, you spend the day coaching people on data and data use and, strategic goals and stuff. And then you go and you work with basketball players. Mm-hmm. How do you, what's the difference? What's the same? What does it look like? What's your approach for each, or is it? I'm just talking now. I'll let you talk.
I know exactly what you mean. It's to me there, like I said, there are a ton of similarities. Yeah. I think I approach relationships from a standpoint of, okay, like I said, taking yourself out of it and getting all the information that you need about whoever you're working with, whether it's one of our partners or it's an athlete. It's okay. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of what do I need to do to improve our relationship with them, to improve their, to make them more comfortable, to make them, trust us more, to make them, more comfortable with what we're doing and with our software and how we bring them, and what do I need to do to get them to that page, to the point of like, okay, they're comfortable, 1, 2, what resources do they need? 3, what are their strategic goals? Or, what are they looking to do, and where do they want to be? What are their goals? And it's the same thing with athletes and with partners who we work with. I think those things they're very, very similar. So if you just approach it in the same way, and you're partnering. I was always look at it from a standpoint as you're partnering. Even when you're coaching players, it's like you're partnering with them because you're still building relationship to the point of like you guys can come to each other, you could talk to each other, you could tell me what you're seeing, I could tell you what I'm seeing. We can kind of put our heads together and come up with a solution to get everything solved so that you have a great experience. Because to me, the experience from our partners and experience from the players I work with, it has to be a great experience. I look at it from a standpoint of provide a great experience. That's the most important thing. And how do you do that? How do you provide a great experience? Well, you need to know, what's important to them and what resources do they need, and then how you can, attend to that when, on a day-to-day basis. So I just, like I said, it's almost like the conversation we just had with the looking at the resume. It's similar. Yeah. It's like, you're just focused on that. You take yourself out of it. You take how you feel out of it, because you can look at a situation and say, hey, we should be doing this or they should do that. But it's like, you know what? Let me just go talk with them. Let me go get a good understanding for exactly what their experience is. And once I have that information, then it's easier to then build out, a plan and put together the right strategy in order to help that situation improve. So it's the same thing to me.
Yeah. I just had a thought, and it's kind of gone now. But no, actually, no, it's not. It's okay. So you have situations where you have a player who isn't meeting expectations, whether it's your expectations, whether it's their own expectations, and you can approach that situation in a way, because you're kind of being paid to have the authority to make sure that they meet expectations or Absolutely. Do the best they can. What we do here is, look, you're not going to be successful unless you kind of play ball with us, for lack of a better term, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, it's not a motivation thing. It's not anything. A lot of times it's just like, I'm a district administrator. I leave the call and I have 30,000 other things to think about.
Yeah.
So the hard part is that our 98% of the companies out there would be just like, all right, your problem, right? You've paid us. We're going to meet our end of the obligation. Yep. And if we're not successful, it's on you. Our approach is we pursue.
Definitely.
Right? And so because they've paid us, and we don't want to just sit there and, lack of a better word, see them waste money. They've paid us to take them to a certain point. And so there's a level of accountability. And when they get stagnant, we have to remind them, how do you, and I don't know that we've come across that a whole lot in the 4 or 5 months that you've been here, but in your mind, what's the approach to that district administrator who's stagnant, but at the same time, we have a company mandate and a kind of what we feel is an ethical responsibility to make sure that they're not wasting their resources, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you've been thinking about that, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think communication first and foremost, and circling it back to, I think the communication piece starting off with, hey, if we've already talked, or do we still need to go back and sit down and discuss what are your goals? What do you truly want to do with this? Is this something that you really, really want? Because sometimes you're working with different people. This could be something that other individuals within the district want, or maybe if you talk about basketball, maybe the kid's parents really, really want him to play basketball, but the kid is kind of like, I mean, I like basketball, but like, but I like basketball, but I don't really love it. Like, I don't want to come work out 3 times a week. I'd rather just go play at the Y or things of that nature. I just enjoy it for different things. So you always want to circle back to, okay, look, tell me, and how I handle it with players, and I'll get back to our side of things, but how I handle it with players and athletes is, I mean, like, your strategic goals, what do you want to do with this orange ball? Yeah. Like, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to just, are your goals to go to college, or your goals to, try to take it all the way if you're talented enough to go all the way and potentially play professional? Is it, hey, I just want to get into college for free or partially paid so I can go off and do, what I really want to do? I mean, is it, hey, I like the popularity it brings me in high school. And I mean, whatever it is, I think you got to get back down to what are your strategic goals? What are you looking to accomplish with this? And once you get that feedback and that information back, and then it's like, okay, so how do we from now here put together a strategic plan to get to where you want to be? Because just like you said with the resources, like, hey man, your parents done spent a lot of money. Like they paid, like organizations are paying me to come in and train. They're paying me to coach. Your individual private parents are paying me to, train. It's like, I don't want to waste their resources either, especially as expensive as everything is today. Like if they can be investing $500-$600 in something completely different, then that makes more sense to me for them to invest in there. So even here, but like with working with ION, with our partners, it's the same thing. I mean, it's one, what are your strategic goals? Again, your experience, getting back to that. Like sometimes it could be like, so tell me about the experience. What's going on? Like, I mean, are you comfortable with it? Is it something, is it like, oh my God, it's ION, this platform is so awesome, but I'm not, I'm not the best person to use it. Maybe someone else is, there could be a number of different answers. But I always want to circle back to, one, communication is most important. Circle back to what are our goals with this? What are you looking to achieve? What are you looking to accomplish? And trying to get back on that path. My thing is trying to just keep them, on a path to moving forward and becoming more comfortable and being more successful with the actual tool so that it works for them and they can, use it effectively to impact, what they want to impact kids, their school district, things of that nature. So I just always want to circle it back to that and have that conversation because a lot of times, like you just said, people have a million different things they're doing on a day-to-day and you don't know what's going on at home. You don't know what's going on in the personal. You have no idea. So you just never know with human beings what's going on. So it's always good to keep communication at a level to where you're speaking with them, you're in contact, you understand where everyone is, and from that standpoint, you can move forward. So I kind of look at it, that's the most important thing.
Well, and it's you have 99 problems and data doesn't have to be one of them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's from a song or something, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that, the webpage we put together for that. That was awesome. The marketing we have for that is great. But yeah, it's very true. It's like, there are a lot of things happening. I mean, we live in a unique time period right now too. A lot of things have changed, even in education, from before COVID to post COVID. So many things have changed, and so you always want to check in and say, hey, like, where are we? How can we get back on this path to using this tool to help it assist you guys in being more successful with helping your kids.
Yeah. Tell me. We have about 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the culture here and what keeps you. I mean, what do you like? What do you wish was different, if anything? What keeps you coming back?
No, it's the one back to that communication thing. Yeah. I love that about us is that we could sit and talk like and here and have great just. Conversations amongst each other, about ION, not about ION, but our communication is outstanding. Everyone's easy to work with. But at the same time, I think something that this tool that you've been able to create and we've been able to, help you build, you look at it and can see what it's doing and what its potential, the potential of what it can do to help our partners. I mean, that's huge because I've never even been this invested in education until, now I was like, wow, this is something that, I having my own kids too and seeing a tool like this and learning as much as I've learned about that this field has been just, like, wow, there's so many different things that can be improved and you see so many different people, the people who are working with our partners who are really working hard to achieve those. And so like that gets you coming in here like, man, this is, a lot of people are looking to, help develop kids, help identify kids who need more and more assistance. The fact that they're putting in that type of work and energy and this product has been developed for them to assist with that. Mm-hmm. It's a good human thing, first and foremost. And I don't mean that to be corny, but it's an awesome thing that human beings are doing to assist, the youth. And that's a huge thing. But our culture internally, it's that, that there's a small business that's building and going out and taking big leaps and chances, being a part of something like that, I think it's been very special. And everybody here, just personality-wise, everybody's, their high skill level. I've learned so much just working with Mike, talking with Mike, telling me about programming, talking with Larry and his experience, your experience, Laura's experience, Jan's experience. It's just been cool, man. I've learned so much, and I think just, I never thought that I would be this, this excited about education in that way.
I spent the last 18 years trying to get out of school.
Yeah.
I am.
I never thought I'd be this excited about it, but it's the culture here has really, caught me, and I'm excited.
Yeah. If you had one word to describe everything so far, what would it be?
One word. Can I have a hyphen in it? Eye-opening.
Sure. Yeah. That's fine.
But I mean, I can think of a few different words, but my goodness.
Oh, well, we could run with eye-opening.
It really has been, because I just seeing what I've been able to see through what we do on a day-to-day basis, and speaking with our partners and what they're dealing with. It's kind of like, man, you've kind of gaining this new passion that you didn't have before. Really, because I wasn't the best student. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But now you're gaining this passion of, hey, you see how this field works. You see what the challenges that the industry has, and how we could potentially play a role in helping, and playing our role in helping improve, and helping these administrators, these teachers, and our partners just improve on how they can impact the lives of students. It's been eye-opening to see the challenges that they have to deal with, that they have to go through, and get underneath the hood and see what this really looks like. I think that's been, from the outside looking in, you just look at, school this, go to 8 classes a day, and that's like that. But now looking at it and looking at what everybody's trying to accomplish, I think that's just, like I said, it's been eye-opening, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, it's kind of fun when you have those conversations with your kids where it's just like, what happened at school today? Nothing.
Yeah.
And do you realize everything that's happening behind the scenes for your nothing to happen?
It's insane for all of us to have the conversations that we have on a day-to-day between us and then with our partners. And then just like, I talk to my kids, and it's just like, oh my God, y'all have no idea everything that goes into just these schools just running and operating, and these teachers, these administrators getting up every day and coming in to deal with other people's kids. Yep. And so I'm sorry, that's a tall order. That's not like the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's a difficult thing, and the fact that they're all doing it day to day, and they're so super passionate about it, talking with people who were like really passionate, and they're really trying to find solutions to help. I mean, I just think I think it gives you a whole new respect for it, and you can see it from a whole nother angle.
What happens in here when you hear stories like the one we heard where, oh my gosh, we found 5 extra kids using IOM that we never would have?
Yeah. I mean, you just get the tingle. It's like warming. It's like, man, because that's people doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be trying to find solutions, not criticizing, not always overwhelmingly critiquing and saying what this student is not capable of or what they can't do. You have people who are looking to find solutions to help every single kid. Yeah. And I think that's super important. I don't think you just, again, that not no child left behind thing, but it's real. Like everybody's not going to have the same strengths. But if we can put resources in front of them that can help them achieve or get to where they need to get to, I think that's an honorable thing. And so when we hear those stories and we get those back from our partners, like, man, we identified these 4 or 5 kids. Now those kids, the potential for them slipping through the wayside, that has now decreased drastically, because now you can address and add the resources that you need. And that kid now can turn around and, a couple of years later, now you have a kid who's on their path and they're on their way to, achieving their goals and being successful, and in whatever way they're going to be successful, as opposed to, what I've seen and what I always felt like was like, why are we, everything's built to just punish these kids. Like, if you don't do this, you're not going to go to college. You don't get this score. You don't get these grades. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that seems, strange. It always seems odd to me that you put that type of pressure when it's our job to make sure that they actually do become successful. So put the resources there, open it up more, provide more tools for them, and let's help them grow and develop in whatever way they're going to grow and develop. And that's like, so when you hear those stories, it's like, man, that people are working towards that goal and working towards achieving that, and step by step. And it's like, man, it gives you a newfound hope, and, and makes you feel like, yeah, we're on the right path.
Yeah. Dameon, hey man, thank you for being part of the team. Thanks for your time this morning. This was fun getting to know you a little bit more, and we'll do more of these, all right?
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for joining us for Keeping an Eye on It. For more information about ION, be sure to visit our website at www.ion-k12.com.